Alright, let's get to the heart of the matter. Meghan Markle has been completely snubbed by the royal family. This isn't just a minor spat, it's a permanent, no bridge left unburned situation. No calls, no texts, no holiday cards. Prince William and Princess Catherine have gone all out in cutting ties. Even palace staff have been instructed to avoid mentioning her name altogether. This cold shoulder didn't come out of nowhere. It's been brewing for years, accumulating through Oprah interviews, Netflix series, Harry's candid revelations, with a specific BBC interview insiders say was the final nail in the coffin. Today we're delving into how things escalated from tense to absolutely cut off, and why Meghan's silence might be the most telling comment of all. Make no mistake, this has gone way beyond we're not on speaking terms. In fact, it's an institutional freeze-out, and in royal circles, that's about as final as it gets. Several sources have shared with us weekly that Prince William and Princess Catherine have completely distanced themselves from Meghan. There's no reducing contact, no break to cool off. We're talking about a full-on communication shutdown. No messages, no holiday greetings, not even a passing hope you're well through a mutual acquaintance. And this isn't mere petty behavior, it's strategic, it's planned. People close to William describe his anger as cold instead of fiery, surgical rather than impulsive. Once he decides someone is not part of his circle anymore, it's irrevocable. This decisive break aligns with Harry's recent controversial BBC interview on May 2nd. During that conversation, Harry didn't just reopen old wounds, he picked at them. It led to yet another instance where internal royal issues were discussed publicly, and apparently, William finally reached his limit. According to insiders, he and Kate chose that moment to set the boundaries. No more drama, no further lenience. It's so serious that palace staff have clear instructions to omit any mention of Meghan's name. Not in official meetings, not offhandedly, not even humorously. It's almost as though she has been erased from their world. In royal circles, withdrawing acknowledgement is highly significant. Silence here isn't merely the absence of dialogue. It becomes the most potent tool available. When the crown decides to exclude someone from conversation, it sends a message to the entire institution and the public. That person no longer features in their narrative. That's where Meghan stands now. Not merely as an overlooked relative, but as someone whose part in the royal story has been finalized and filed away. So why now, you ask? Let's be honest. Tensions between Meghan and the senior royals aren't exactly breaking news. We've seen the Oprah interview, the Netflix projects, the tell-all talks, and until recently, there was always a speck of hope that relations could improve. This time is different. Insiders say the motivation is deeply personal. It concerns Catherine's health. For months now, it's been known that she's been dealing with significant health challenges, and privately, her recovery journey hasn't been smooth. William's sole focus has been protecting one thing, her peace, and achieving that peace necessitates cutting out chaos. Sources claim the embargo on mentioning Meghan isn't simply petty bitterness. It's because even hearing about her, seeing her in the headlines, or even indirectly facing her has been emotionally draining for Kate. The tension, the endless back and forth, the uncertainty, it's taken a quiet but substantial toll unseen by the public. One palace insider was forthright: Kate will never see Meghan again, not as an act of retribution, but as a means of setting boundaries. For her mental and emotional well-being, the door to Meghan is closed, sealed, and bolstered. Even if, eventually, Harry and William reconcile, and that's a significant if, the mending will solely involve the brothers. Meghan won't be part of that equation. This illustrates how terminal it feels. William's involvement doesn't end at passively letting the freeze-out advance. He's actively cultivating it. Behind closed doors, he's applied subtle yet persistent pressure on King Charles, expressing he's had enough. It's not just about Meghan, but the unceasing spectacle surrounding her. The atmosphere within the palace right now isn't one of fiery resentment, it's one of worn-out resolve. They've had it with the spectacle, done with the media shows, over the sly jabs and documentaries. For the senior royals, this isn't about winning a public relations skirmish, it's about completely eliminating the issue from their environment. And what about Meghan's reaction to all this? Well, according to leaks, the silence is piercing far more effectively than any public retort ever could. Here's something often overlooked. When the royals choose silence, it's not due to apathy or lethargy. It's warfare, executed in a form few recognize. Angela Levin, yes, the royal biographer who literally penned a book on Prince Harry, claims this strategy is intentional: abstain from engagement at all costs. No rebuttals, no refutations, no circumspect public relations coded responses for the media to dissect. In their domain, silence is far from weakness, it's a tactical advantage. And it's not just conjecture. We've seen similar tactics in the past. When Princess Diana's Panorama interview made waves in the 1990s, the Queen didn't publicly dispute each point. She merely issued a concise, formal statement, after which the palace closed ranks. Similarly, when Sarah Ferguson's scandals erupted, there were no lengthy clarifications, no emotional pleas, just dignified distance until the uproar subsided. What William and Kate currently practice is essentially an evolved, intensified version of the same strategy. Not only are they shunning Meghan in public, they're excising her from their daily affairs. Her name? Emotionally banished. Her projects? Ignored. Even during private staff meetings, she's regarded as non-existent. Why does this work? Because Meghan thrives on controlling the narrative. Every interview, every appearance on Netflix, every podcast, it's all geared towards crafting a version of the story, voicing her perspective, pushing back against criticism. But when the opposite party declines to participate, it's akin to shadowboxing. You're jabbing at emptiness, and the emptiness doesn't jab back. Insiders say it's already bothering her. Apparently, Meghan has privately expressed frustration, lamenting that the royals won't acknowledge their part. But in reality, their silence embodies their stance. It conveys, "This is beneath us." We refuse to even acknowledge it publicly with a rejoinder. And there's an additional layer to this: perception. If Meghan were to publicly react again, while the palace remains utterly hushed, to the average observer, who appears more composed? The side that maintains silence typically seems more in control. Ironically, this tactic echoes something Meghan herself has previously enacted. Recall her fallout with her father, Thomas Markle? Regardless of what he said to the press, whether an interview, a letter, or a contrived paparazzi photo, Meghan didn't reciprocate publicly. No counter-argument. No familial reunion gesture, just total detachment. Now she finds herself on the receiving end from arguably the world's most renowned institution. And here's where it becomes more daunting. The silence is spreading. Once William and Kate set the boundary, other senior royals followed suit. From Charles's key aides to the lesser-celebrated working royals, the tide shifted. It's not animosity, it's weariness. Members within the establishment are simply tired of engaging with this discourse. And in the royal hierarchy, when the prominent figures decide on someone's persona non grata status, it cascades down swiftly. Invitations cease, informal catch-ups dissipate, even those quietly for the record tips to sympathetic journalists dry up. That holds the true peril for Meghan. Not only experiencing an emotional freeze-out, but a structural one as well. Once you're excised from the royal ecosystem, the network, influence, and platform you once possessed don't just diminish, they disintegrate. And Meghan is currently witnessing that firsthand. Here's something often forgotten. Meghan's influence hasn't solely hinged on her royal title. Certainly, marrying into the Windsor family elevated her to unprecedented global recognition, but her success was constructed on something more expansive. A cadre of celebrity allies, media advocates, and influential friends who could magnify her narrative instantaneously. And presently, that network isn't quite as unassailable as it once appeared. Let's begin with a significant shift. Consider Edward Enninful, the former director of British Vogue. This is the person who, back in 2019, stretched everything to secure Meghan the guest editor role for the publication's iconic September edition. It was heralded as a pioneering cultural turning point, the Duchess curating a selection of catalysts for change, infusing her progressive outlook into one of fashion's most authoritative platforms. Behind closed doors, however, Vogue insiders describe the dynamic as tense. Various staff members have subsequently claimed that Meghan's expectations were excessive, the atmosphere highly charged, requiring constant management not only of the content but of her mood. Back then, Enninful was willing to accommodate it. He valued the association, but as those close to him now suggest, the relationship eventually unraveled. These days, they don't even exchange pleasantries. In the world of PR, that kind of quiet has the impact of a tabloid headline. And Enninful is far from an isolated case. There's a recurring theme here. Meghan has a knack for quickly forming alliances, often cultivated through compliments, mutual activism, or a common outsider story. Yet when those alliances no longer serve her vision, they tend to disintegrate. We've witnessed this pattern with stylists, publicists, and even fellow activists she once praised on social media. One moment, you're part of her inner circle, the next, you might as well not exist. Now this trend is making its way through Hollywood. Remember the frenzy in the first year after Megxit? She and Harry made appearances everywhere. Red carpets, charity functions, even Oprah's backyard. Their phone rang with messages from top-tier celebrities in real time. But as per one Beverly Hills source, everything's changed now. The initial intrigue has faded, The fairy tale charm has lost some luster. The calls are still returned, just not instantaneously. Invitations still roll in, just not all the time. This shift is crucial because Meghan was intent on being acknowledged as more than just the Duchess. Her goal was to be perceived as a cultural leader, with enough charisma to command attention in circles with icons like Oprah, Beyoncé, and Michelle Obama. But in Hollywood, buzz is vital. The second it's suspected to be waning, people start reconsidering their bets. This change is already evident in media coverage. Publications like Vogue and even celebrity magazines that previously gave unwavering support are now running more critical articles, questioning her choices rather than praising them. Such a transformation doesn't occur casually, nor does it transpire without cause. For Meghan, this is precarious territory. Without the support of the royal family and with her Hollywood safety net showing signs of wear, she risks losing her influence across the Atlantic. It isn't merely about being snubbed by William and Kate anymore. It's a gradual decay of the foundation upon which she's built her post-royal life. And most alarmingly for her, it's all happening without fanfare. No grand "I'm done with Meghan" declarations, no conspicuous unfollows on social media, just a quiet withdrawal. The kind you only realize when you notice the room is emptier than before. Here's where the story complicates further. Because for Prince Harry, it doesn't just circle back to Meghan. It's tied to identity, to loyalty, and the challenge of being a husband to one of the world's most polarizing figures, while also being the son, brother, and spare to the royal heir in the most scrutinized family on earth. Let's be clear, even as Meghan's bridges are burning, there's still a narrow opportunity left ajar for Harry by William and Kate. It's not a wide opening, certainly not sufficient for a handshake, but large enough for him to step through one day, with precise conditions in place. And those conditions, they're non-negotiable. Rule number 1, no airing of private grievances in public forums. No more tell-all stories. No more unplanned revelations of confidential family dialogues in Netflix specials, autobiographies, or podcasts. If Harry desires a return route, it'll be paved by his muteness, his ability to stay silent. The dilemma? Silence runs counter to the approach he and Meghan have adopted for these past 4 years. From their Oprah interview to the Harry and Meghan series to Spare, their brand has revolved around loudly sharing their narrative. Retreating now wouldn't merely signify a personal change, it would require dismantling the very public story they've invested millions into. And undeniably, Harry has committed fully to this story. His memoir wasn't just an insider's glimpse of royal life. It marked a definitive separation, complete with striking anecdotes about William's physicality, Charles's pleas at Sandringham, and even critiques of Camilla's media ties. When that's all laid bare, backtracking doesn't just feel awkward. It's nearly unfathomable without violating your own convictions. Yet here's the catch. Each time Harry stands up for Meghan, he deepens the rift between himself and the royal family. And as that chasm widens, the more entangled he becomes in the situation they've built together. He's not just protecting his spouse, he's safeguarding their entire narrative. But from the royal household's viewpoint, it doesn't seem heroic. It seems reckless. Top aides perceive him now as someone who previously grasped the importance of preserving the crown's dignity, but now opts to use his royal standing for global media offensives. Financial aspects haven't slipped their memory either. Remember, King Charles purportedly gifted the duo millions post-Megxit. Despite this, Harry depicted a life of being cut adrift and forsaken. That contradiction remains a barbed point in the palace's memory. There's also a personal facet in question, the brotherly bond. William has consistently been the steady, more cautious sibling. Harry, the carefree soul, the soldier, the fun prince. But the divide separating them never gaped wider. Insiders reveal that William not only disagrees with Harry's decisions, he feels deeply hurt. Betrayal is the hardest offense to forgive in this family. Still, a glimmer of hope remains among some at the palace. They speculate that should Meghan ever truly exit the picture, by her own accord or otherwise, Harry might gravitate back. But that's a sizable if, and one that nobody is holding their breath on. For the moment, this is Harry's reality. He's balancing on a high wire. On one side, the partner with whom he's curated a life and a brand. On the other, the family he was born to and the historical establishment still influencing his global persona. With every move he makes, that tightrope thins. One misstep, and the fall could be definitive. If you assume Meghan Markle was impervious to public opinion, think again. Insiders say the former Duchess is becoming noticeably uneasy, not merely about the chatter, but about its originators. Here's the twist. The criticism isn't solely sourced from tabloids anymore. Publications that once supported her are now raising questions. Magazines like Vogue, which once showcased her as the modern face of royalty, are publishing articles pondering her methods, accentuating projects that faltered, and dissecting her public blunders. Even The Sun and the Daily Mail, long-standing critics, witnessed sympathetic media painting a similarly less flattering portrait. For Meghan, that's more than negative press. It's a loss of narrative control. Control has always been a cornerstone of her personal brand. From her days curating content on the TIG to impeccable Instagram layouts, to interviews where she shaped the story, Meghan valued authorship of her plot. But recently, someone else is wielding the pen, and palace insiders indicate this shift is taking its toll. There's talk of her becoming increasingly choosy about events, obsessively analyzing them for potential optics and clout. She's said to be disheartened when projects don't achieve the buzz they used to, and more guarded in interviews after realizing even friendly questions can transform into adverse headlines. Here's the paradox. Meghan's reputation was erected on empowerment, clarity, and inclusivity. But now, previous backers accuse her of demonstrating the same exclusive manipulative conduct she purportedly escaped. Past collaborators discreetly withdrew, citing volatility and image management overload. And that silence from her former supporters? It's noticeable. A particularly illustrative instance of this is her split with Edward Enninful, not due to its fiery nature, but because of its quietness. No dramatic Instagram activity, no heated public declarations, just two people, once tightly knit, no longer communicating. In Meghan's universe, that kind of void can wreak more damage than overt criticism, because it hints to the industry that her allure might be waning. Let's not kid ourselves. In Hollywood and elite circles, perception doubles as life. If your phone's ringing less frequently, if invitations taper off, if erstwhile allies steer clear of joint events, you recognize it, and Meghan purportedly senses it acutely. The harshest aspect? The royal family is keenly aware. According to some sources, they're fully conscious that the tactic of dignified silence doesn't just avoid fanning flames, it extinguishes them. Every occurrence of Meghan speaking out without a royal retort shifts the public debate from seeking truth to wondering why no palace member finds it necessary to engage. And that absence of response gradually diminishes her sway in royal discourse. For someone who's thrived on visibility, that constitutes the starkest punishment imaginable. Not scandal, not exile, just a slow fade from the narrative. Here we stand. Meghan Markle, who once dominated royal conversations, now so thoroughly sidelined that her mention is banned in palace discourse. No messages, no gestures, no reconciliatory gestures, only silence, cool, calculated, and some might argue, far more severe than any public spat. For William and Kate, it's a move to safeguard the crown and maintain harmony at home. For Harry, it's a precarious balance between love and legacy. And for Meghan, it's the realization that sometimes the gravest punishment is not public scandal. It's becoming invisible, out of the narrative. But here's the real question. Is this royal icing out the final curtain on the drama, or merely the pause before another whirlwind? Historically, in the royal realm, silence rarely signals the conclusion of the saga. It often suggests a new chapter is being crafted behind the scenes. What's your take? Is Meghan out for good, or is there a plot twist on the horizon? Share your thoughts below. I make sure to read each one. And if you're keen on more deep dives into the juiciest celebrity tales, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you stay in the loop. Because believe me, in this universe, the tea doesn't stay chilled for long.